Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for May 20th to 26th. This week I read 4 books, I watched 1 movie, I watched 1 show, and I listened to 2 books. First this week I finished Sugartown by Hazel Newlevant. This is a tiny graphic novel that I was originally saving for the Queer Lit Readathon, which I'm co-hosting with my pal Rogan from June 10th to 16th, but it came in early from the library and I just jumped right into it. It concerns a polyamorous bisexual girl named Hazel who's on winter break in Portland and is updating her boyfriend back home with her adventures while dating a local dominatrix. So, you know, your usual plotline. Going into this I knew about the bi rep, but I was pleasantly surprised to see kink, sex worker, and poly communities represented as well. The art is cute and this took absolutely no time to breeze through, so if you're looking for something to fulfill graphic novel for a readathon, pick this one up. Next I finished Written in the Stars by Aisha Saeed. I was not prepared for this. I knew the basic premise going in. A Pakistani-American girl is caught with a very chaste, also Pakistan-American boy. But since her parents are adamant that they are to pick her husband, they tell her that they're taking the whole family back to Pakistan for a vacation to show her her roots. While there, they go behind her back and arrange a marriage. I read this cover to cover without getting off the couch. This was an incredibly compelling read, and I immediately jumped online and sent some appropriate emojis to Sajed, who talks about this book so much on his channel that the author knows his name. I had expected light and fluffy, and I think the marketing for this book, as well as the setup from the author, purposely used this misdirection. Because this book is harsh, triggering, and a staggering work of literature. It carries an important message that I did not expect to see in a YA book. Trigger warnings for abuse and sexual assault, but absolutely worth picking up if you haven't already. Another book I finished was Sweet Southern Trouble by Michelle Michaels. This was a recommendation from Jess for my BookTube Picks My TBR project, which I am so very close to completing. This is a contemporary romance about a football coach and a school teacher. And although I enjoyed some aspects of it because there is a certain novelty in reading a genre I don't usually pick up, it was also trope city. It was both a hate to love and a fake to real relationship narrative. On top of that, Coach is actually terrifying at parts and Maribel never seems to fear for her life. There's a point where he's in some jealous rage and he talks about beating her and he picks her up, puts her in his car, and takes her to his house. I don't know about you, but I think I would be slightly upset about being bodily kidnapped and threatened with physical violence. These characters could have cut out a lot of nonsense if they were just honest with each other and they were given several opportunities to do so, but their misunderstanding lasts until the very end. At one point it was described that Coach wasn't above using every weapon in his arsenal to get what he wants, but apparently his arsenal does not include communication skills. In addition to tropes, there were references that didn't make any sense, such as one of the football players just needed a hook and an eye patch to look like Jack Sparrow. Unless something happens to Captain Jack in the later movies, because I've probably only seen the first 2 or 3 of them, that's not what he looks like. Also, even though this is an adult book, things are described as being effed up instead of just using the F word. Anyway, if you are a romance reader, this book is fine if you can suspend your disbelief that Maribel wouldn't think she was gonna die. I also read a play this week called Noise is Off by Michael Frayn from my local Nerdfighter book club. This is a play within a play farce in 3 acts. The first is the tech dress rehearsal where they're just trying to nail down their blocking and their lines. The second act is when we see the show from backstage during an infamously terrible matinee. In the third act, things go even further to hell. This is one of those plays where it's much more fun to see it than read it because of the epic volume of stage directions and movements involved to pull it off. At our book club meeting, not only did we discuss the play, we watched the 1992 movies starring such people as Carol Burnett, Christopher Reeve, John Ritter, and Michael Caine. I had seen this in my teens, but it was a blast to watch it in a room full of people who had recently just read the script. Since the play was fresh in my mind, I was able to pick up that Michael Caine's character was now rehearsing Hamlet instead of Richard III, which we assumed was a change they made because movie-going audiences would more readily know Hamlet than Richard. They also slapped a happy ending on there because reasons. Hi, Kathy from editing here. I just realized while my video was exporting that I actually read another book this week and didn't write it down and forgot to talk about it. That book is called My Brother's Husband and it's a graphic novel that takes place in Japan. It's about a month after the protagonist's twin has died in Canada and his twin's husband shows up from Canada to visit. The art style is really cute. I really love the protagonist's daughter. She was adorable. And I enjoyed how it went into the culture of homophobia that is over there and talked about how the protagonist was working through his own homophobia. So there you go, 2 queer graphic novels this week and somehow I forgot one of them. Whoops. wrap-ups. The show I watched this week was the finale of Survivor, and I was happy with who won. On the off chance you haven't seen it or haven't been spoiled on Twitter, I won't say who won, but there was something interesting that happened during the final tribal council that has never happened in a finale before. So it was fun that new things are still coming up in the show. The premise of the next season sounds promising, and now I will have to find something else to do on Thursday mornings. I watched this show the day after on the Global TV website because I don't have cable. This week I did a reread by listening to Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. Once I heard that Shannon Purser was narrating, I simply had to download this from my library and give it a listen. I was getting major FOMO from listening to people talk about how great the audiobook was. She sounded pretty much exactly how I pictured Leah's character in my head, so I was not mad to have to read this book twice in 2 months. If you didn't see it last month, this is a continuation of the Creekwood series, but instead of having the same protagonist as Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, we are following one of his best friends, Leah. She is bi, but not out to anyone but her mom, and is having some social conflicts that have her on the offbeat. If you want happy, squishy queer lit with a heaping of angst, Leah's your girl. This week I also listened to Only Human by Sylvain Nouveau, which completes the Themis Files trilogy. Since this is the third book in a series, I can't really tell you that much besides it's written in dossier format and is performed by a full cast. It's science fiction, it's high stakes, and I just needed to see how everything was going to work out and if the human race was still going to exist in the galaxy. If you've listened to the Illuminae files and want something similar but more grown up, I highly recommend this series. That's it for this week. Just one more week to wrap up before the Library-a-thon, which I will be co-hosting June 3rd through 9th. If you haven't already sent us your TBR videos or Instagram posts, you still have plenty of time, and I want to see what you're reading. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon for my monthly wrap-up. I'm not entirely sure how May went by so fast, but I am looking forward to all of the reading I'm doing in the first couple of weeks of June before I go to VidCon. If you will be there and on the creator track, please come by to the BookTube networking session because it's the only BookTube related thing on the schedule and I'm hosting it. So I'll see you soon. Bye!